Good afternoon, Britain. It is now 10 to 1. And here's a curious one. This year, medical students who are about to become junior doctors are finding themselves in deeply uncertain situations.
Yes, this is because the new allocation system means many still don't know where they're going to be working for the next 2 years. Could be anywhere in the country.
And here's the most pernicious part. They've had to cope with a change in the system which used to rank them based on merit and now randomly allocates their ballot allocation. So it used to be that those who scored most highly on the tests would be at the top of the list, and now they're giving a random number up and down the list.
Is meritocracy bad now? Is it a dirty word?
Well, there was a BBC report that said the logic behind this is the previous system was stressful for students.
Oh, my goodness.
And was particularly unfair on those from deprived backgrounds and ethnic minorities because they tended to perform less well. And so they've moved from merit-based allocation to random allocation.
Oh, my goodness. So I could study the hardest I've ever studied in my life to try and get the place I want to go to, and then actually, you know, I end up somewhere that I absolutely have no desire to be, even though I've worked so hard.
There's no incentive for you to work hard on these particular tests.
Well, we're joined now by former Hospital Trust Chairman Roy Lilley. Roy, I'm flabbergasted by this news.
One of these days I'll come onto this show and you'll give me something simple to explain. Let me do my best. So you've got a load of junior doctors who finish their training and they've got to go somewhere. So where do we send them? Well, the previous system was, as you say, more meritocracy, and it was based on their achievements. The difficulty with that was you get a lot of very bright doctors that end up in very glamorous teaching hospitals in London and places like that, and getting people to go to other places more difficult. On top of that, the junior doctors were complaining about the geographical allocations because a lot of them wanted to go back to where their families are, or, I mean, you know, a lot of them might be married and what have you, So the geographical thing seemed to be important. Now, there was a poll of junior doctors and a trial of this new system. 66% said that they thought it would be better. Did it? Well, rather the NHS did it. I stand back off of this. It was them, not me. And 75% of the allocations were okay, and the computer forecast was that they would get 79% of the allocations okay. So it was done, I think, you know, in the best of intentions. And how do you square the circle of, as you say, very talented people becoming doctors and wanting to continue their careers in glamorous, glitzy places, or, you know, are they going to be prepared to go and work in Chuffington, little downtown NHS trust?
Roy, I think one of the big issues with this, of course, is perhaps the law of unintended consequences. Of course, it sounds very nice to have everyone have an equal chance of going to the best place, but there's two potentially very bad things that have come out of this. Number one, a lack of incentive to perform well on those tests that were previously used to allocate where people would go. And number two, the very best doctors in the country, the very, very best medical students being sent to the places that they really don't want to go on a matter of chance, they're much more likely then to go overseas and not be in the system at all.
Well, OK, let's kind of cut that into chunks, and I'll give you what my view is. I mean, firstly, there's this question of, you know, where do the brightest doctors go and where do they want to end up? When the survey was done prior to making the changes, they placed a higher emphasis on geography, actually, and so they could go to the geography that they wanted, and that was their preference. Now, as far as doctors going overseas, this is a bit of a mystery because the junior doctors all talk about people leaving and going to Australia and working in the sunshine. But actually, in order to go to work overseas, they have to acquire a thing called a certificate of good standing from the General Medical Council. Fundamentally, that's a certificate that says this is this person, they've got these qualifications, this is their medical, this is what they're supposed to be doing. OK, so they get that, and that lasts for 6 months. And then they can decide, to go within that 6 months. They can renew the certificate, and bear in mind also a lot of overseas doctors come here and train here, and they have to get a certificate of good standing to go back to their home countries. Now, in 2022, just under 5,000 doctors applied for a certificate of good standing, which is, it's not a lot when you consider that we're a host to a lot of foreign country training. And it's gone up a bit since. I think it's gone up by about 1,000, but it's still not the exodus that the junior doctors sometimes say that it is.
And yet, the reason this story caught my eye this morning was because on Twitter there was someone saying that his wife was the best. She had a PhD, she had the best scores of anyone in her university. She was then ranked 10,000 out of 10,500 people, right at the bottom of the list, despite being one of the best students. And now they're considering going overseas.
The ranking is not to reflect the academic achievement; it's to anonymise the applicants and to give them the choice of their geography. Look, I mean, I don't know really what the solution is to this, because we have a lot of doctors coming out of training. We've got 215 hospitals.
I mean, Roy, it sounds like this isn't quite the right solution to me, but Roy, we'll have to leave it there. Roy Lee, always a pleasure.